4 ways to set yourself up for success, especially after you've fallen off the horse. Now, really, guys, what I want to do tonight is I really just want to encourage you. I want to encourage you because some of the episodes we've had on in the past have been maybe a little bit heavy, maybe a little bit deep here and there, right? And maybe this year has been kind of tough for some of us, right? So I want to do my best to encourage you. And also, I've fallen off the horse many times, many, many times. And one thing I'm proud of is that I always end up getting back on the horse and I keep riding. And, sometimes I'm a stubborn woman about that. I do that in my own time. You can ask my husband. I'm ready to get on the horse when I'm dang well ready to get back on the horse, but I always get back on. So, I just want to share with you some tips that I've learned that have helped me along my journey, and I hope they'll help you as well. So, all of us are going to, if we haven't already, fallen off the horse. And we may lie to ourselves and say that we got bucked off, but the truth is, we probably just fell off the horse. So, don't tell anybody, right? But you know what? Falling off the horse could be many things in your life. It could be your health. It could be your fitness, maybe your dry fire routine. It could be relationships in your life, your business, maybe your finances. Guys, this could relate to literally anything. So I want you to think about that as we go through this tonight. Think about what is your proverbial horse that you have fallen off of, or you're currently on the ground looking back up at, that you need to get back on the horse. So whatever it is, you need to learn how to get back on track. And that's so important, right? So let's see. Let's just get right into it. So, the first way to set yourself up for success is to realize that action creates inspiration, not the other way around. Now, how many times have you heard about or thought about, well, I watched this thing and it was really inspiring and that was I just want to get into action now. Well, I'm not saying that can't happen, but more times than not, trying to um just think your way into getting something done or having success doesn't really work. Mindset is important, but you have to put yourself into action. So don't wait to be inspired. Create inspiration through action. And this is backwards of a lot of the times what I've heard and what I've seen. So I thought this was interesting and it really resonated with me. So that's why I'm sharing it with you. So the idea is that small action creates a snowball effect. And many of the examples I'm going to use tonight have to do with fitness, but just keep in mind they can apply to anything. So keep an open mind and think about where you can apply these in your life. So the example that I wanted to give you is that whenever I feel uninspired to work out, I can't wish my way into doing it. I have to just get up and start doing something. Start small. Tell yourself, just move, just do something, do anything. Anything at first is better than nothing. So, I just want to ask you something. Have you ever seen someone that got done with a workout and they said to themselves, I wish I wouldn't have accomplished that? That just wasn't a good idea. Like, why did I even do that? No, most of the time when you get done with a workout, you feel really good that you accomplished something that was hard. Maybe it is cleaning or cleaning out a closet, clutter. Maybe that can be literal or figurative. It could be cleaning out clutter in your life. Maybe there's some things that are bogging you down that you need to get rid of. Have you ever looked back and thought, well, why did I even put that off? That wasn't that big of a deal. Like, I made that bigger in my head than it really actually was. If you would have just gotten into action and taken one little step in the right direction, it would have been a lot easier. But we build things up in our head and think it's harder than it really is, when really all you need to do is just take that one little first step. So action creates inspiration. So get moving. Okay, number 2. Cut out distractions and create guardrails. Okay. Cut out distractions and create guardrails. What do I mean by that? What do you think the answer to this question is? How many times a day on average are we interrupted by our phones? I saw this recently and I couldn't believe it. Like, I know I get interrupted a lot in a day. I have a phone. Everybody does. I also have children. So I'm sure this number is at least doubled, but I was still shocked. So tell me in the comments, how many times on average in a day do you think that we're interrupted by our phones? Anybody out there want to speculate as to how many times a day on average that would be? All right, so the answer is 85 times a day. Are you surprised to know that? 85 times a day on average, you're interrupted or distracted, I should say, by your phone. So tell me, what else in your life is distracting you besides your phone? I mean, your phone's probably a big one, but there's probably other things in your life that you could minimize or eliminate as distracting you from your focus of your intention of your everyday goals, right? Okay. So the next thing is setting guardrails. So establish guardrails to make it easier to stay on track and stay focused. So think about this. How have you set yourself up to succeed in the past? Surely you have done well in the past at something, right? You've succeeded at something in the past. So analyze how you did that. So for me, what I did was I went back to a time in my life when I was in the best shape of my life. We all have those stories, right? Man, I was in the best shape of my life. Well, how did I set myself up for success to do that? So I went back and I analyzed it. And one of the things that I did was I got good coaching in the beginning. I had a coach for the first month, and that person set me on a good plan, set me on a good path, provided accountability for me. And I realized not everybody can get a coach or don't want to get a coach, but that was a good step in the right direction to kind of get me going on the straight and narrow. But I have created 3 rules looking back of the guardrails and not involving the coach. This was after the coach that helped me stay on track. Okay. So, rule number 1 was start small and snowball. So, when you're first starting, if you start small and snowball, this really helps. And this ties back to the action creates inspiration, right? So, if you don't start small, you will try to eat the entire elephant all in one bite and you will burn out. Trust me, I know. I know from experience. I have a tendency to do this, okay? So, let's see. Start small and try not to eat the elephant all in one bite or you will burn out fast, okay? And it's hard for some of us to start small because we want to go big, but it's so much more important to make small, consistent progress than it is to go hard, too hard, and then not stay consistent. So the small steps of consistency are what is key. And that is so hard to do sometimes, but that is so, so important. Okay, so let me find the next one here. Sorry, I'm not used to doing presentations on here, but okay, so rule number 2 that worked well for me in establishing guardrails was work hard at your level and you will level up quickly. Okay, so this one is a little bit hard for people to understand, but this worked well for me. Maybe you don't agree with this, but this worked well for me. So, what I would do was when I would go into the gym, I would work on what was hard for me that day. So you know how some days you have days where you're like totally on fire and you like can conquer the world, and other days it's all you can do to just drag your butt in there, and like you have like almost zero motivation to do anything. Like everything is hard. You feel like you're walking through mud the whole workout. So for me, instead of first of all comparing myself to the other person that was in the gym that was doing well or where I wanted to be, instead of comparing myself to that person, or instead of thinking about what I did yesterday and, oh, well, I did this last week, so I have to do more now, I would focus on what is it that I'm working on today? How do I feel about what I can get accomplished? And I would do what was hard for me that day. I would do whatever my hard was, and then I would push that just a little bit further. So my goal was to do what was hard for me, do my hard, and push a little bit further that day. And if the next day or the next week or whatever I was totally on fire, I would get way down the line and I would push a little bit harder every time. Just to get past that comfort zone into that suck factor just a little bit and stay there for just a little bit, no matter what that was that particular day. And that's different for you every day. So instead of comparing yourself to other people, compare yourself to yourself, like focus on yourself. And the more you do that and staying in your lane and knowing yourself really well, the better off you're going to be in the long term, because you're naturally, without even thinking about it, and maybe this is more of the focus on the process and not the outcome thing that we always talk about. If you stay in your lane and you focus on you, you will level up naturally. You won't even have to think about the other guys because you'll automatically be doing that. Anyway, hopefully that made sense. Um, okay. So, and here's the other thing that it did for me too was that so what it did was it allowed me to give myself some grace on those really hard days rather than not showing up at all. So this is really important. So on the really hard days, instead of just what would really be easy would just be to give up and quit, because maybe I wanted to do X number of reps every single day for this number of weeks or whatever. It would give myself some grace on the really hard days, rather than not showing up at all. At least I showed up and did something, right? It kept me in the game rather than giving me an excuse to quit, because what I was wanting to do was way too much, if that makes sense. So then on the days I really felt good, I was on fire. If you really think about it, it all kind of averaged out. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. All right, so the next slide. Rule number 3, don't negotiate with yourself, period. This really helped me. So when I was doing this routine of mine, that was when I had my regular job. I was employed with a company and I was in an office setting. And I only had a short little window of time to work out. And that was during my lunch hour. And it was a short little bit of time, because if I wanted to eat and work out, I had to really hustle, right? So, but what it did for me was it gave me few options. I either got out of the office, which I really wanted to do, and it gave me a place to go and look forward to, or I had to just stay in the office and eat my lunch there. And I didn't want to do that. So I always had a place to go and I looked forward to it, but I didn't negotiate with myself. I knew at this particular time, whatever it was, 11:30, I was out the door, man, and I looked forward to it. I was out the door and I was doing my thing every single day. And there was no negotiating. It was just what I did. And when you cut that negotiating out of your life to procrastinate and be like, well, I'm not going to do it today, but tomorrow I'll do twice as much, or I'll wait till after work and then I'll do it. Well, guys, we all know how that works, right? It doesn't. So if you stop negotiating with yourself, or even and set those guardrails in place so that that's not even an option, that will really, really help. And that's just from my experience, something that's helped me. So maybe it'll help you. Okay. So maybe that's blocking time out of your schedule, or maybe it's creating a space in your home that you look forward to going to. For me, if I'm listening to my favorite podcast or my favorite music or something, that really makes it so I look forward to it and it turns into me time. Okay. So next thing for helping be successful is to be careful of who you give your time and energy to. Be careful of your time and energy. So this relates again to anything you want to be successful in, whether it's business or shooting or hobbies or whatever. Here's another in the comments shout out. Does anybody know who said this? You become an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Is there anybody out there that knows who said that? I wish I had a prize to give away for the right answer. So think about who you're spending your time and energy with. I'm going to see if anybody gives me the right answer here. But think about who you're spending your time and energy with. Are you setting healthy boundaries in your personal and business relationships? Be honest with yourself. Are you really? Don't allow others to suck your time and energy. You have very little time in the day. Well, we all have the same amount, I suppose. But what you do with that time is you're in control of that, nobody else. So you need to take control of that and be very intentional about it. Value yourself enough to walk away from toxic people and toxic situations in your life, and understand the value of and the power of saying no when you need to, and mean it and follow through with it. I know some people that are yes people. I'm not saying that sometimes you shouldn't be a yes person, because a lot of the time, and I'm going to ask Riley this later, a lot of the time saying yes gives way to really great opportunities in your life. You don't always want to say no to everything, right? But when you're getting taken advantage of, or when you know when the boundary's being crossed, and only you know that, then Abe Lincoln, I'm sorry. Oh, I see. Sometimes I shouldn't read the comments. Anyway, so okay, I got off track there. But understand the value and power of saying no when you need to. You guys know that. There's a difference between knowing it and applying it. So you need to practice that. And that's a lesson that I learned in my life, and it's only been probably in the last 3 to 5 years I've actually been able to apply it very well. Okay? So anyway, I don't know. Nobody's even saying who said that. That's okay. But Chris, that was a great guess. Whoops. Oh, anyway. Okay, so the person that said that was author John Rohn, who is an entrepreneur and author. John Rohn, Rohn, if you want to look him up. Okay, and so let me get on with the last way to set yourself up for success, to get back on the horse. This one is the most important, guys. And this one is be willing to start over and try again as many times as it takes. Okay? When you fall off of the horse, and you will, what will you do next? This is what matters. So when you're at that point where you are just spent, when you're tanked, you're dying to give up, that's when you make a pivotal decision. That's where you find out if you really have the heart and the drive to get back up. It's not when things are good and easy and comfortable. It's when things suck, right? So, what are you going to choose? Most people show their true colors in this moment. So, I want to encourage you to build that mental toughness now. If you're truly serious about training, and I know you are because you're watching this show, to save your life or the life of others, you must learn so much more than just the hard skills of shooting. So, ask yourself this. Sorry, I'm still trying to figure out these slides. Ask yourself this. How will you know what you will do in real life if you allow yourself to give up, slow down, or take it easy in training? Build mental toughness now. So let's go back to training for just a minute. I want you guys to go and watch this. If you have not watched this episode, go back to the August 31st episode with Brian Hill, the complete combatant, and listen to the part where he talks about emotionless correction, okay? This applies to shooting and to life. So he talks about how flogging yourself and beating yourself up does not help in any kind of training, right? So think about a real defensive encounter. In real life, if stuff hits the fan, you won't have time to look back and think to yourself, oh, I missed, dang. Are you going to think like that in real life scenario? No, you're going to have to think and move now. So practice that in your training. Don't look back, look forward and move. And now think about all the things that can apply to in your everyday life. Don't look back, look forward and move. You need to learn how to think and move, not just in shooting, in everything. So whether that applies to gun training, fitness, or your business, don't look back, look forward and move. So in summary, positive action of any type will lead to small wins, which will lead to more inspiration and create a healthy snowball effect. Create consistency and guardrails in your life. Cut out the nonsense and distractions. Create focused intention every single day. Surround yourself with the right people. Value yourself enough to say no when needed. And start over and try again if you have to, as many times as it takes. Practice mental toughness in small ways now so that you can build that over time. And most importantly, going into the holiday season, be grateful for the gifts you've been given in your life and work diligently every day to use them for good and to truly build yourself up physically, mentally, and spiritually so that you may be a gift to others as God intended.